Hello everybody. This week you have another set of calculation problems, week 4 calculations. It's in two parts. The second part are just some conversions within the metric system and actually between the metric system and the household system. You had to do those for week 3, so I'm not going to go over that again. If you still need some review, please take a look at the videos that I have the links to the videos that I've sent you earlier for those. The first part are some dosing calculations, some simple dosing calculations. And so I thought I would go over some sample problems for you today to help you with those. Some you might just be able to do in your head. You might not even need this formula I'm going to show you. But if you use the formula, you can't go wrong. The formula you're going to use to calculate a dose would be D for desired over H for have times quantity equals the amount you're actually going to give. So for example, if you have a prescription or a drug order for ibuprofen 400 milligrams given every 4 hours is needed for pain, 400 milligrams. How many tablets are you going to give? This is the formula you're going to use. And I think it will make more sense what these letters mean when I go through some sample problems. A couple of tips. If you have an oral dosage, a solid oral dosage form in tablets or capsules, for example, Q, this quantity, will always be 1. Again, that'll make sense when I go through some problems. If your dosage form is a liquid, an oral or parenteral, in a liquid form, I should probably put liquid here, L-I-Q-I-D. Then Q is going to be the amount, usually in mils, of the strength supplied in the bottle. So what does that mean? If we have a label that says 100 milligrams per 5 mils, the Q is going to be 5 mils. Now the reason I say that is I don't want you to confuse this volume with another volume that you'll see on the label. Sometimes the bottle will have the total amount of mils that are actually in that bottle. Don't confuse that with the mils that are in that represent the strength of the drug. Let me show you a drug label, for example. Here's Ceclor, and actually I think I have a problem with Ceclor here. But if you look at this label, it has a lot of numbers on here. Let's look at a couple of them. One number is 125 milligrams per 5 mils. That's the strength that's supplied in the bottle. Okay, so it's the 5 mils that we're going to use for H, and we'll come back to this when we do the problem. This 150 mils, you're not going to use that. What this 150 mils means is that when you actually, this bottle is a powder and you add water to it. And you reconstitute it. So it's actually an oral suspension for reconstitution. But when you add the amount of water to it, you will get a total of 150 mils in this bottle. Okay, but we're not going to deal with that number. We're going to be dealing with this 5 mils in our equation. So let me go back to our worksheet here. Okay, let's go down and do a sample problem for a solid oral dosage forms, a tablet or a capsule. The drug order is Keflex, 500 milligrams twice, BID, and BID means twice a day. The drug is supplied in 250 milligram capsules. It's supplied in all sorts of ways. But let's say for purposes of this, we have in our cabinet at our pharmacy a bottle of 250 milligram capsules. How many capsules are given in each dose? So each dose. Here's our equation. Desired amount over what we have on hand times the quantity equals our answer, the number of capsules that we're going to give. So in this problem, our D is going to be 500. We desire to give this patient 500 milligrams. What we have on hand is 250 milligrams. In other words, that's how it's supplied in a strength of 250 milligrams. And like I told you, the Q, quantity, will always be 1 capsule, always be 1, in this case 1 capsule. There's 250 milligrams in 1 capsule. So we just plug in our numbers. 500 for D, 250 for H, times 1 capsule equals our amount. When you divide 500 by 250, you get 2. Our milligrams, of course, cancel out. Times 1 capsule, times 1 capsule and we get 2 capsules per dose. So again, remember, this equation is how many capsules or tablets or mils or whatever you're calculating per dose, not for the whole day. But what if you have a question that says, okay, now you know how many capsules you give per dose, how many will you give each day? Well, let's back up a second. BID, I told you, equals 2 times a day. So if you're going to give 2 capsules in one dose, you're going to end up giving 4 capsules per day, because 2 times 2 is 4. All right? So those are pretty easy. Again, if it's an oral dosage form, Q is always 1. Now let's do a problem where we have a liquid oral dosage form, like a suspension or a solution. Okay? Here we have a drug order for another antibiotic. This was the label I showed you, Ceclor, 250 milligrams TID, and TID means 3 times a day. In this case, it's supplied as a suspension, 125 milligrams for 5 mils, so that's the strength. How many mils are we going to give per dose? Again, same equation. D is going to be 250 milligrams, because that's in our drug order. That's what's desired. 250 milligrams is what's desired. What do we have on hand? Well, we have 125 milligrams. And the quantity, here the quantity is not going to be 1, like for a solid dosage form. We got a liquid here. It's going to be 5 mils. Okay? So for Q, you're going to put in 5 mils. So you plug in your numbers and you do your math. 250 divided by 125 is 2. Your mg's here, milligrams, cancel out. And then times 5 mils equals 10 mils, again, per dose. Now if you're asked how many total mils are given for the day, well, we know we're going to give this dose 3 times a day. TID equals 3 times a day. So 10 mils times 3 would be 30 mils. Now, here's an extra question. We're going to give them 30 mils total. We're going to give them 10 mils per dose. Now you're being asked, how many teaspoonfuls are given per dose? How many teaspoonfuls are given per dose? We know we're given 10 mils per dose, but how many teaspoons is 10 mils equal to? That's the question. So now you're going to go back and you can do a conversion like you did last week. And you have it, like I said, you have a handful of them to do, I think 5 of them to do for this week's calculation sheet. We'll go back in your materials from last week and you'll see some conversions. And you'll see 1 teaspoon equals 5 mils. All right? So remember, we're going to take that 1 teaspoon equals 5 mils and we're going to flip it vertically. 1 teaspoon over 5 mils equals X teaspoons, because that's what we're looking for, over 30. You know what? I just made a mistake here. We want to do 30 mils is what we're giving for the whole day. I need to change this 30 to 10, right? 10 mils per dose. That is my mistake. So it says how many teaspoons are given per dose. Down here we're going to put 10 mils, okay, because that's how many mils we're given per dose. So I need to change some things here. 10. All right, we'll get to that in a second. 1 teaspoon over 5 mils equals X teaspoons over 10 mils. We're going to cross multiply. Remember, 1 times 10 is 1 times 10, and then cross multiply this way, 5 times X. So 1 times 10 equals 5X. Then what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 5, because we need to isolate that 5, right? I mean that X. So 10 divided by 5 is actually 2, not 6. And the 5's cancel out and you have X. So each dose you're going to give 2 teaspoons. All right? If you were asked how many teaspoons you're going to give for the whole day, if you know you're given 2 teaspoons in one dose and you can give the dose 3 times a day, it would be 6 teaspoons for the whole day, but you're going to give 2 teaspoons per dose. Lastly, here's a sample problem for a parenteral, which is going to be a liquid. You do it the same way. Let's go through an example. Drug order Tygan. Tygan's given for pain. IM. IM means intramuscularly. And you're going to give an IM injection of Tygan, 200 milligrams every 6 hours PRN. And PRN means as needed for pain. It's supplied in a little vial, Tygan, 100 milligrams per mil. Let's take a look at that label. If you can see this, here's the label on a vial. And remember, here's the strength, 100 milligrams per mil. If you see per mil, that means per 1 mil, okay? The bottle is a multi-dose vial, so it can be, a syringe can be put in there multiple times to draw out how much you need for the injection. There's a total of 20 mils in this vial, but remember, we don't need that 20 mils to do these calculations. That's just telling you the volume of that whole bottle or that vial. The mils that we're interested in for our calculation is the mil that's in this strength, 100 milligrams per mil. But that's what that label looks like. So we will go back to our problem. And the question is, how many mils are injected per dose? How many mils are you going to draw into that syringe out of the vial and inject in the patient? Same equation. Your D for desired is 200 milligrams. Remember, the drug order or prescription is 200 milligrams. So you're going to put 200 for your top number. What do you have on hand? We have 100 milligrams on hand. 100 milligrams supplied. What is your quantity? Your quantity is 1 mil. Again, 100 milligrams per mil, that means 100 milligrams per 1 mil. Okay, so your quantity is 1. Plug in your numbers and do your math. 200 divided by 100 is 2 times 1 mil equals 2 mils injected per dose. Again, this equation is for each dose, not for the whole day or the maximum amount for the whole day. But we do have a question. What is the maximum number of mils that could be administered per day? This is as needed. So this patient might just get 2 mils, might just get 1 dose. But if this patient needs to take the maximum amount throughout the day, what would be the maximum number of mils that this patient could be given per day? Well, if you remember in the order, it said every 6 hours. How many times is that a day? Well, we know there are 24 hours in a day, right? So if you divide 24 hours by 6 hours, you get 4 times, right? 4 times a day. So 2 mils times 4 is 8 mils. You would give this patient a total of 8 mils a day and no more than that. And that's it. If you have any questions, please, please, please email me. I hope you can see this video. If you're watching this video, obviously you've been able to. I'm going to try to post videos, or will post videos for the future calculation problems, or if we have some repeat calculation sheets, I'll just refer you to these videos. All right, see you guys.